This is an electric radiator. It's one of many electric radiators we have in this house because that's how we heat the house. They cost an absolute fortune to run. Our bills are so high thanks to these. Let me tell you what the bills have been like in December. I'll tell you how much we've spent, how much we've earned from our solar and battery installation, if we've earned anything at all, and maybe I'll just have a little moan about the electric radiators, and it'll give you an opportunity to say, Andrew, why didn't you just get a heat pump in the first place? So before I go in the conservatory, into the relative comfort of the conservatory, same temperature but less rain, hopefully, let me just tell you about our system. So this is our bungalow. We've got solar panels on the top there. The roof is east-west, and we've got 30 panels on the roof. And then at the side of the house, we've got chickens, 2 batteries, 2 inverters linked up in parallel, so they work as one. Each of these inverters is 5 kilowatts, so that means we have a 10 kilowatt total, and each of the batteries is 10 kilowatt hours, so we have 20 kilowatt hours of battery storage. 20 kilowatt hours, that's quite a lot, isn't it? Or at least it would be a lot. It would be a lot if we didn't have electric radiators. But we do. So let's go into the figures and get out of the rain. It's a miserable time of year, isn't it? Absolutely miserable. You know, we're tempted to move to Greece. Actually, no, it is raining in the conservatory as well. So it's an AlphaESS system, and that was installed by Heatable back in April. Watch that video if you haven't seen it already. It's fascinating watching them do all the solar panels, install all those, and doing the inverters and batteries on the side of the house. Now, it took a couple of days. From the moment it was installed, it was transformative to our bills. We've saved an absolute fortune. And we've also earned a surprising amount of money as well. And we earn from feeding in or exporting back to the grid. And that gets us 15 pence per kilowatt hour. I'm going to put all the figures up on screen just so you can see how we've done throughout the year so far. But really from October onwards, things were looking a little less impressive. We had some snow, had some ice, so clearly the numbers aren't going to be very good. So first of all, we'll look at the Octopus app, and if I just do that, and then I'm going to put it up there. If we look at November, you can see that we spent £268.54 on electricity. If I switch over to kilowatt hours, you can see what that is. You can see quite clearly there on the right of that chart that it started getting worse and worse the further on we got into November, and that's just because it got colder, obviously. So the colder it gets, obviously, the more the radiators are on, and yeah, it just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? You can see if I hover over that, the standard rate at the top is like £10, about £10 a day on many of these days, sometimes less. That was a really bad day there, almost £13 we spent on that day. So that was November. And then at the bottom you can see how much we exported, and again you can see that as the graph changes on the top with the amount that we spend during the day, you can see that the export goes down. So at the beginning of November we must have been exporting something from the excess solar, possibly some battery storage. I think it's probably just the solar. So you can see that we're exporting more, and then of course it goes down, so it's the inverse of the graph at the top. So that's November. Let's go to December. Good old cold December. And £419.87 is how much we spent. That's 2,206 kilowatt hours of energy. And weirdly, we still exported something. So we exported 70.61 kilowatt hours, which is £10.59. Now, £10.59, that surprises me, to be honest, that we're exporting anything. I don't even understand why we're exporting anything. We don't have any excess solar because the battery gets used up pretty quickly. In fact, by about 10 in the morning, the battery is all gone. So, don't know why we're exporting anything. Maybe it's a quirk with this Alpha system, but anyway, happy to see it. It all helps. So if we compare December 2025 with December 2024, let's just do that. You'll see then we spent £610.33, which was 2,445 kilowatt hours. So December 2024 was bad. If we go to December 2025 again, you'll see that we are actually better off this year, thankfully. So £190.46 better off in terms of usage, and that's £201.05 better off if you include the export as well. We used 238.61 kilowatt hours more in 2025 than we did in 2024. It's difficult to know exactly where that extra is coming from, but it's probably because we're charging the batteries daily. So if you think we've got 20 kilowatt hours of battery storage, and every single night at the cheap rate of 7 pence per kilowatt hour, we're topping up those batteries. Well, in fact, fully charging up those batteries because they're always depleted this time of year. So that's probably why we're using more electricity. So the house is using what's stored in the batteries until mid-morning on a good day. But I'm going to go into that a little bit later, and I'm going to show you some lovely charts on the Alpha app, or the Alpha website, I should say. But yeah, I would love to know why we're exporting anything. I really don't know that. Maybe you know, actually. If you could tell me in the comments, that'd be great. But let's talk about the radiators. The radiators are by a company called Rente, a Spanish company, I think. And although I'm very dismissive of these radiators, to be fair, they work well. They're all connected with Wi-Fi, apart from one of the ones in the bathroom. And because they're connected with Wi-Fi, it does mean that I at least have some data from them. And I do love having a bit of data, and I know many of you do as well. So you'll see that December 2024, we used 1,481 kilowatt hours. It says that we spent £266.53, but that's not actually a true reflection, probably, of what we spent, because I think the tariff was set up wrong. So ignore that. It's probably best just to ignore that. But yeah, 1,481 kilowatt hours, which is a lot of energy. It's a lot of energy. It's not even that big a house. It's a 3-bed bungalow, but it's this conservatory. This conservatory is evil in terms of heating. So you'll see in 2025, we used 1,126 kilowatt hours. And you'll see it says £314, which is more than it was last year, despite the fact that the radiators are using the battery a lot of the time, which of course it doesn't know about. So we used 292 kilowatt hours less December 2025 compared to 2024. And why is that? It could be that it's been milder this year. I didn't actually check the weather. It doesn't seem like it has been. It feels like it's been quite a cold December. Or it could be that I've just been winning the argument with my wife when it comes to not heating the conservatory. However, it was December. Obviously, that means Christmas. We did have people over, so we were heating the conservatory on some days. We were also using the dishwasher far more, 2 to 3 times a day on, for instance, Christmas or Boxing Day or whatever. So we're doing that more. And we were also heating the water tank more. So, the immersion of the water tank is pretty power intensive. And we've got such a small tank, it doesn't last very long. So we were heating that more because more people were having showers. So December's always going to be quite an expensive month. Okay, so that's enough talking about the radiators. And yes, there will be many of you, I know, that will tell me that I should have got a heat pump instead of solar and battery. Because if you're going to spend your money on something, maybe it makes sense to spend it on improving the efficiency of your heating instead of getting the solar and batteries first. I don't really have a good argument for why I didn't go for the heat pump, other than installing a heat pump here, because we've got electric radiators, so we have no plumbing. It would be quite a big deal and quite a lot of upheaval. And given that we had moved in October 2024, I didn't really feel like going through the hassle of doing such a lot of work, I suppose, on the inside of the house. It just felt like a little bit too much to do, I think. So that was part of the reason. The other part of the reason is it would have been more expensive. So we got a really good deal with the solar and battery thanks to Heatable, because Heatable are effectively sponsoring these videos. So because of that, it was a really good deal, and it was one that I would have been mad not to accept. So very thankful for Heatable doing that. So this is the Alpha app, and it's a little bit confusing when you first look at it. And in fact, I still look at it even after having it all these months, and I'm still a bit confused, to be honest. But what I can tell you is, you see this little thing on the left with the picture of the house. That's all pretty simple, really. You can see that we're using 3,300 and 76 watts from the grid. We've got 50 watts of solar. That's great, isn't it? And if I scroll down here, you can see on the bottom right, we've got the profit diagram. But as I've said before, that's incorrect. We haven't made 2,927 yet. Apparently Alpha will be fixing this. They should be fixing this, but they haven't yet. So if I swap over to December 2025, and I can scroll over all of these, and you can see how much we've earned from feed-in and how much we've saved from self-consumption and how much we've saved from load shifting. Now, self-consumption, that's what you use when the sun's out, or it's what you use if the sun's been out and it's stored the energy in the battery, which doesn't happen really much, if at all, this time of year. And then load shifting is what happens when you charge up the battery overnight at the cheap rate, and then you use that throughout the day. So anyway, that's the profit diagram on the bottom right, but yeah, just ignore that income thing, don't get too excited about that. On the bottom left, you can see we've got this power diagram, and with this I can go to December, and then I can scroll through all the different days, which I'm not going to because that would be incredibly boring, so I'm not going to do that, but I'm just going to show you that you've got all these things down here, BAT, which is battery, of course, and if I just hover on this, you'll see this is New Year's Eve, and the battery gets discharged before 9 o'clock in the morning because it's pretty cold. So yeah, a little bit depressing, really. You may be wondering why that little graph still stays a little chunk of battery down there. You might be thinking, well, why isn't that lower? And that's because there's a sort of a reserve in batteries. They don't want to discharge it all the way down to 0% because it's not good for the battery. It doesn't like it. So it keeps some in reserve. It does also mean that, to be honest, when I say it's a 20 kilowatt hour system, it's not actually 20 kilowatt hours. It's, I'll put it on screen because I can't remember. It might be 18 kilowatt hours, I think, in total. So that's it. That's why. But you can see that the graph gets steadily higher from 11:30 at night. That's when our cheap rate kicks in with Intelligent Octopus Go tariff. And if you want to change tariff, then do the referral link, and thank you very much if you do. £50 off Octopus for you. So anyway, you see that gets charged up. It's 100% until 5:30 in the morning. That's when cheap rate ends, and then our lovely radiators are kicking in, and then it will deplete shockingly quickly. So yeah, and you can see we generated 9 kilowatt hours of solar on that day. We consumed 76.3 kilowatt hours, which is just astonishing amount, isn't it, really? And then the feed-in was 0.39 kilowatt hours. Anyway, so we took 67.69 from the grid just on that day. So that's just to show you what that power diagram is. But the one that gives us probably the most information that's relevant to us over a month is this energy diagram one. And if I just select some dates here, so I'm going to go 1st of December to 31st of December, here's the information that you probably want to know. We generated in total 163.8 kilowatt hours of solar throughout December, and we discharged from the battery 559.2 kilowatt hours. Based on all of this, the total saved in December by having the system was £170.35, which is pretty good, I think. It would be nice if it was more, of course, but it's December. It's a pretty miserable month, and so that's quite a big chunk off the bill. £170.35. Obviously, also we have electric cars. We've got at least 2 on the driveway at any time, and we charge those electric cars. So with the Zappy, we can find out how much we charged, and apparently we charged 192.9 kilowatt hours throughout December. So that works out to £13.50 because that is all done at cheap rate. If it's not cheap rate at night, then it will be cheap rate during the day, and that's because we're on an Intelligent Octopus Go tariff, and when you plug in the car, it works out the best times to charge, and even if that's during the day, you will still get cheap rate. Although they're changing this a little bit in January, at the end of January, and you're only going to get a maximum of 6 hours of that cheap rate during the day, because apparently a lot of people are gaming the system, and they're cheating a little bit, and they're trying to get more cheap hours out of Octopus. So I suppose it was inevitable that they were going to change it, I suppose. But anyway, it's still really good for us anyway. For instance, on a day like this, today it's quite windy. So even if we plugged in during the day, we would get the cheap rate. And not only that, you get the cheap rate for the car and you get the cheap rate for the house as well. So it works out really well. Anyway, so we spent £13.50 and we get 270 miles out of the e-Nero about this time of year. So that's still about 2 pence per mile, under 2 pence per mile. And in fact, I'm being a little bit pessimistic because I drove 100 miles the other day, did a round trip, and it was 8 degrees Celsius, and I got 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour, which works out to 281 miles. So that's, I mean, the e-Nero is just so good. It's so efficient. I've got the wonderful Ioniq 5 on the driveway at the moment, a car which I absolutely adore. It's brilliant. Love it. Absolutely love it. But my God, it is not efficient at all. The e-Nero is so good, and I always go on about it, but you know, when you're thinking about how much money you want to save by getting an EV, if you can charge at home, or even if you're charging on public chargers, then it makes sense to get the most efficient car you can get, doesn't it? Because the more efficient it is, the less you're spending. So the e-Nero is brilliant. Anyway, I can't compare that to December 2024, sadly, because back then I didn't have a charger installed. The Zappi was installed early 2025. So we were using the granny cable, so just plugging into the normal 3-pin socket. So I have no idea how much it cost us to charge the e-Nero back then. So just to recap then, why was it so bad in December? Christmas meant more entertaining. The radiator was on in the conservatory sometimes. Heating the water, immersion more dishwasher use, more oven use, just more cooking really, because it all costs quite a lot when you think about it, when you're entertaining, but you know, it's worth it because you have a lovely Christmas. So, and I hope you had a lovely Christmas as well. I hate talking about Christmas at this time of year, but when I look out the window, it's so damn miserable. I suppose it's nice to hang on to the happy memories of Christmas and when the tree was up and Santa delivering presents and all the rest of it. Now, so looking forward, well, not really looking forward, but looking ahead, I should say, to January 2025, the month that we are in now, as you're watching this probably. January 2024 was the worst month of the year. We were spending about £25 a day for peak rate electricity. So far it's actually much better this year, but I'm going to give you an update in February. It's much better this year, of course, because we've got batteries. Last year we spent an absolute fortune. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing, not really looking forward at all actually, I'm dreading it, but I'm looking forward to seeing, I suppose, how much we've saved this year compared to last year. And then just to talk about battery performance, I knew this was going to happen, but cold weather does affect the batteries, and it actually affects it so much that they stop working completely. They just turn off. And we had, actually in January, but we had a couple of days, good couple of days I think, of minus temperatures. And these Alpha batteries, anything under 0 and it might stop working, and it did stop working. At least one of them stopped working, the other one seemed to continue. I'm not quite sure why, because they're next to each other, but maybe one is closer to the house and perhaps a bit warmer, I don't know. So on the 4th of January, that was the first day where it didn't charge up at night because it was so cold. But I'm going to save that for the next video and go into that a little bit more, and I'll just talk about what I perhaps should have done, what I can still do, and if I was going to get the system again, would I change anything? And I probably would. There we go. That was December. At the end of every video, I always ask myself, am I happy? And yes, I am. You have to look at these things across a whole year, though. You can't look at it in isolation. If I look at it just during winter, then obviously we're saving a bit of money, but not a massive amount, and certainly not enough to justify the amount that you've got to spend to get a system like this, because it is a lot of money, isn't it? Even though Heatable do interest-free credit, so if you are thinking of getting a system installed, do think about that. So it's a mistake just to look at 1 month in isolation, or even just one season in isolation. You have to look at it across a whole year. And for us, it has certainly been worthwhile so far. And the longer you have it, of course, the better it gets. And I maintain it's a really good investment. If you're staying in your house for a while, which is always a gamble with us, to be honest, since we move every 3 bloody years. But anyway, if you're staying in a house for a while, it makes a lot of sense If you would like a battery or solar system, then do talk to Heatable and use the code at the bottom of the screen. If you do Mr. EV 150, then you get £150 off a solar installation. Mr. EV 75 gets you £75 off a battery installation. So thank you very much to all the people that use those codes, and let me know in the comments actually if you have used it and if you've had an installation from Heatable. And I do get a lot of comments saying just how much they like Heatable, so that's really good, because I would hate to be some sort of shill that's telling you to go with Heatable if they're not good. But in my experience, they've been very good. And clearly, it's not just because I'm a YouTuber, because other people say the same. So that's a bit of a relief. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks so much for watching this video. And please press the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of other videos. And I'll be back very soon. Bye for now.